Charmaine Lawson, here we are. We're just watching people come back right now from the 5K
Run, walk, row for justice.
That's
yes,
right.
Yes.
And this is the 6-year memorial anniversary. So we've got a lot of supporters out here today. It's kind of a somber occasion, but it's also, you know, there's a lot of, it's a really upbeat, supportive vibe out here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The community came out and showed their love today for DJ. And not just my son, but to all the murdered and missing here. And it's way too many, right?
Yeah.
And they came and stand and ran in solidarity. And I just love this community. I absolutely love this community. I could not do this by myself.
So how does it make you feel then to see, you know, 6 years later, we are doing it, but at the same time you do have support. It's encouraging to keep going, maybe?
You have to keep going. You never give up. When we fight, you win, right? And you never give up on your loved ones. You keep fighting until that day comes when justice is served, and that's what I'm here for. I am going to continue to fight for my son. I've said it from day one, and I will continue to echo those words, and I will never give up until I get justice for David Josiah Lawson, my DJ. My son should have been here now. He should have been here. He was viciously taken from us way too soon, and his killer is still walking free. And the community and everyone know who that killer is. And they're here to stand in solidarity with me, and they're not giving up either. And I appreciate them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yesterday I know you met with DA Stacey Eads. Did you want to say anything about that briefly?
Well, I met with Ms. Eads, myself, our supporters, along with Black Lives Matter LA, Black Lives Matter Grassroots, and my children, Anthony and Chloe, came up and met with the DA and also the chief investigator. Mm-hmm. And I actually reached out to her and asked for this meeting, and she said yes, so I was grateful to her. She did say that she is reviewing the case. She should have an answer for us in about 3 months or so. So I'm looking forward to hearing from her within the 3 months period. I hope it's sooner than 3 months. Mm-hmm. I know we have enough evidence to bring this back to trial and get a stand-in holding order and hold Kyle Christopher Zoner responsible for the murder of my son. We have enough evidence. We have his bloody, saturated clothes. We have the DNA on the knife, his and my son. We have my son's DNA. We have Kyle Zoner's DNA underneath my son's fingernail. We have countless of eyewitnesses shouting in the direction of Kyle Zoner, saying he did it. So we have more than enough evidence to hold him over and for him to answer for the murder of my son. Yes. So okay. we're praying that she sees what we see, because the evidence is there, and we just need to prosecute him now. She needs to charge him and prosecute him.
Okay, so basically you're sort of in a holding pattern. She's going to review the case, probably look at some of that evidence you're referring to, and then hopefully get back to you in 3 months.
That is what I was told.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we shall check in 3 months and see where we're at.
Absolutely.
And probably check in before then, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
So again, we have more than enough evidence. We have way more than enough evidence to hold Kyle Zoner responsible. When he sued the city of Arcata, he testified for a day and a half on the stand, and they asked him, where did all that blood came from? He said the blood came from him wiping his face. His clothes was saturated with blood. There's absolutely no way that all that blood came from just his beaten face after he stabbed my son. He was beaten up. And there's no way. There's blood on the back of his pants. There's blood on the front of his sweats pants. The blood soaked through from his black shirt to his white t-shirt. All that blood did not come from a beaten face. And Detective Dockweiler also stated that amount of blood came from someone that was involved in a butcher situation where my son was bleeding out. Casey Gleaton also testified when she saw my son. She said, "Dude, you're leaking." My son was leaking out. all that blood was on Kyle Zoner's clothes. So Kyle Zoner is the responsible party for the murder of my son, and he needs to be held accountable.
And was Kyle Zollner the only person seen and reported fighting with Josiah?
The only person. And he testified in court that when he walked up to the door, my son sucker punched him. My son is not here to speak for himself. But even if that's the case, my son sucker punched you. Okay, even if that happened, you went to your car and you went and got a knife. My son did not have a knife to defend himself. My son was bear sprayed and pepper sprayed by Nyla Wilkins and Angelica McFarlane. So my son was blinded. He could not see to defend himself. So Kyle Zoner, that same knife that was missing from his bag and the same knife that was found at the scene is the same style knife that was used at his place of business. So you have all this evidence that points only to one person. He claimed he doesn't remember. You don't remember stabbing someone. You stabbed and you murdered my son. And the DNA shows that you are the responsible party. And I'm not going away. I just need you to know that. I'm not going away until until you are charged and you are prosecuted, and I'm going to look you in the eyes and I'm going to tell you what you did to our family. You have ruined our family, and not because you grew up in a dysfunctional family, Kyle Zoner, doesn't mean that you have the right to go around and take other people's life. Kyle Zoner was asked back in October, have you ever been arrested? He said no.
So that's not a true statement.
That is not a true statement, because they were able to bring proof that he was arrested for assault and battery against his own sister twice. He was also pulled over and was arrested for methamphetamine.
Possession?
Possession, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So he denied ever being arrested until the city manager was able to show proof. And then he was like, it wasn't really anything. The point is you were arrested and you lied. And he demonstrated how the blood got on his clothes. He's in handcuffs, and he said that the way the blood got on his clothes was by him using his knee to wipe his face. But he's in handcuffs in the back of a police car. Absolutely impossible. That's impossible. How did the blood even get on the back of your clothes? Right? He had my son had him in a headlock. My son was holding on for dear life, and that is how all the blood got on the back of his clothes. So we have the evidence.
So you believe it was Josiah's blood on Kyle's clothes for the most part?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is his blood that is on. It's my son's blood. Excuse me. It is my son's blood that's on Kyle Zoner's clothes. Yes,
Gotcha.
It is. Yes, it's his blood and my son's blood that's on his clothes.
Mm-hmm. And as to the DNA on the knife, can you speak to that?
The DNA
for
on the
people who are
knife.
confused about it.
The DNA on the knife is of Kyle Zoner. I believe it's 36%. I believe it's like 36 to 67% of the DNA is of Kyle Zoner, and there's more. I think it's like 72% of my son. So yes, the DNA the evidence is you cannot refute the DNA evidence.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for people.
Yes, so people need to know, and I know that people are watching and people have their own opinions. Just know that if this was your child and your child was butchered, what would you do? Would you just sit back and do nothing? So for all those that want to comment and say negative things about my child, just remember, my child's never been in trouble a day in his life. He came here to go to college. He does not know what a handcuffs feel like. He doesn't know what it feels like to sit in the back of a police car. So before you start judging our family, you take a look at the perpetrator, Kyle Zoner, who has been arrested, again, 4 times, including the time for the murder of my son. His sister also was arrested a few years ago for battery. His mother been arrested. We're talking about families that have been in and out of the system of what would you call that? Incarceration. Okay?
Yeah.
You look up the record for my family. I've never been to jail. I don't know what jail feels like. I don't know what handcuffs feel like, and neither any one of my children. So my son came from a great family. And you see that by the love that this community has shown me and shown my son. Okay?
Yeah.
So for all of you that have stuff to say, if you don't have anything good to say, please don't even comment. Don't comment. Don't come for me, because I'm not trying to come for you. I'm here to fight for my son. And I pray to God that you're never in this situation, because I know that you would want someone to fight for your loved one.
That's right. Thank you for that, Charmaine Lawson.
We need justice. We need politicians and city leaders to jump on board and know that this was a heinous crime and the murderer needs to be taken off the street. My son was